Do you know which industrial protocol to use in your IoT projects? You're not sure? So come check it out. I'll show you every single detail.
Tuponix, Smart Factory Solutions.
This is only the very first video of the series Fundamentals for Industry 4.0, more specifically for IIoT projects. And what should you do? What protocol should you use? What technique should you use? I'm going to share everything here with you. So since 2009, I do this presentation here about polling protocols and report by exception on data change. And I'm gonna show you all the details. So come check it out. First, I'll show you the polling protocol on a certain frequency. So let's say every second we are pulling this data. So it's 5 now, 5 later, 5 later. That data doesn't change for 1 hour, but still you have traffic, okay? So you are pulling that data constantly every X second, no matter what, if that data has changed or not. So in between this interval, you may lose that because you're pulling. So you're pulling in a frequency. So, okay, you get 7, you get 9. So let's say you stop at 11, you stay there for 10 minutes and you're still pulling every second. So let's say you go down, you stay here on this 5 for another minute, in 1 hour for you to stabilize, and then the variation is very low. Here you have probably, let's say, 300 messages, 3,000 messages, okay, just to capture this little blip, all right? In a polling protocol, it's like that child on the back seat that say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Every minute on a 5 hours car ride. So forget about that. How about report by exception? It's like a child saying, are we there yet? No. Okay, so I'll be quiet over here and you let me know when we get there. And now, report by exception on the data change. Report by exception, it's not on a frequency, but actually on that data change. So here I have 5. Okay, I transmit that data. I will not transmit any data for another hour because my data hasn't changed. Now I change my data, I report. I change, I report. I change, I report. I don't change for another 10 minutes. There will be no communication in there. Okay, we're using it more efficiently. So Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, enables us to communicate faster, more reliable. So you say, hey, I have it, I'm gonna use it. It's not just because you have it that you have to use it. Not just because you can, that means you should. You can also do things smarter, more efficiently, okay? So we are talking about smart machines and you should use smart protocols. And now, just a sneak peek on data compression, which you can use even on a polling protocol. Come check it out. So let's say I define my deadband at 2, okay, because I know this range. So I get the first value 5, I get the second value 5, and then I trace a deadband of +2 and -2. If all my data are within this range, I do not store this data, let's say, in my database, or even better, on my time series based. Once we change this and it's outside of this range, what it does, it stores the last one, and now, let's say this number 7. Same thing. Look, +2 or -2 is on an increment. Okay, this is linear. We'll not get any value in between, but once you get this 11 and then the next one is 11, I was expecting 13. Okay, so now I store this 11 on this other 11. What you have is, in a long term, you will have virtually the same trend, but with much less data points. That's the very basics of data compression. If you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to leave it a like to support my content. Comment down below what you think about this, what you want me to talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe to support my channel so I can make more contents like this for you. And now we're gonna talk about stateful connections. There are basically two kinds. The native, okay, where you have a persistent connection. So which means I open that connection and I monitor. So I know if that connection has ended or not. The downside is that you consume more processing, and that can be really hard to handle in a large scale. On the other side, you also have the stateless connections. Stateless connections, you don't know, it's not persistent, so you don't know if it's connected or not. But through good mechanisms with lightweight messages, like a ping, you can see if that connection is alive or not. Let me show you. So let's say in 1 hour that data hasn't changed, but you define your watchdog, let's say in 10 minutes. So it's 5, it doesn't change for 10 minutes. I ping my server and I say, hey, are you there yet? Yes, it is. All right, so I know my connection is good. It's just that the data hasn't changed. You repeat that in a much less frequency just to make sure the connection is alive. The good thing is that that's a much lighter way to check the connection. Just for a quick analogy, imagine that you call up your brother and you say, hey, let me know when mom gets home, okay? So 5 minutes has passed, 10 minutes has passed, he hasn't called. So you decide to call him and say, hey, are you there, or mom just hasn't got home? Okay, mom's not home. Okay. So let me know when she gets home, which means if she gets home in 3 minutes, he will call you. If she gets home in 30 minutes, he will call only you in 30 minutes. But you establish a watchdog, let's say in 1 hour. All right. So 1 hour has passed, he hasn't called you, you call him again, just to make sure that connection is alive, just to make sure he's in there and the data hasn't changed, which means your mom hasn't got home, okay? So 13 minutes later, mom gets home, he notifies you, okay? So he pushes that information to you and say, hey, mom is home. And then you ask me, Ricardo, why, besides alerting me that the connection is down, why is the stateless connection helpful? Because we can apply a technique called store and forward, that we can only do this on the report by exception. So that way we have no data gap when we lose connection, which is not possible on a pooling protocol. Let me show you. When we are monitoring the connection state, we keep pushing that data and then we lose connection. The connection is lost. Normally you have a data gap, but no longer with store and forward, where you put all this information in a buffer locally, let's say by the edge. When it detects that connection is reestablished, you feed back that data, including the timestamp, let's say to a timestamp, to a time series database. So no longer you have a data gap, and you ensure data integrity, which is extremely important. And no more waiting. Now we're gonna name some of these protocols. Like I said, I worked with intelligent protocols since 2008, where we had radio communication, was not even satellite at that time. So that was in Brazil, where I was doing power generation, transmission, distribution on intelligent relays. So traditionally you have some local communications like Modbus, again by polling. I use a lot of these IEC 61850, okay, intelligent relays. Now we're talking about logic, we're talking about buffering, about watchdog, we're talking about report by exception. I present this exactly same presentation for over 15 years, okay, where I talk about all these points, okay? And I teach a lot of people about it. On IoT projects, what should we use, okay? Not polling. Remember, what are your drives, your proprietary drives? So there can be a Yaskawa, can be a Siemens, or an Allen Bradley, a Rockwell, like the ABCIP. Those are by polling, okay? Another choice, OPC-UA, okay? Now we are relying on DCOM, so now we are talking about Windows, okay? So that's not ideal, and trust me, a lot of the big companies now are still doing this for IoT projects. And they are implementing new projects for remote data collection using these archaic and legacy protocols. Okay, so and then we can go to OPC-UA. Okay, that's great. We can even put this in edge devices. Okay, so this is great. But we can use polling. Remember, I just talked about polling. Now another version on the client side, you can do report by exception. Okay, now is great. Now you're actually only on the data change. That's awesome. A downside, one of many, it is that those are ASC2, okay? So you need ASC2 decoding for your human eyes to see what the information is and not a binary. The winner here is MQTT Sparkplug B, and that's why binary protocol, lightweight, have all these mechanisms. It's a lightweight, report by exception. It checks all the boxes. I'm not gonna get into now, but you also have hierarchy modeling, okay? So there are a lot of advantages on MQTT Sparkplug B, and that's what you should be using on your IoT projects, and that's our protocol of choice here at Tupanix Smart Factory Solutions. My name is Ricardo Santos. I'm the Industry 4.0 Facilitator, and let's stay connected.
Tupanix. Smart Factory Solutions.